haven't had enough coffee for that.
I'm working on it. I'm getting there. Mm. Yo, Dan from Cosmonaut Steaks. Anil from Bitwit. Stoked to see the fam here. We got people rolling in. This is where the party happens. I like it here. You got somebody new to Discord. I see a default avatar in there. Boom. We're converting people to Discord. Just like we are to Passage. Yo, what up? Cybero Bojo. I feel like it's actually Jojo. I don't understand your username, but sometimes I feel silly like trying to pronounce all these exciting, sophisticated, and creative usernames. You guys are too creative for me. Oh, when are we holding this meeting on Passage? I had that thought right before this.
Hey,
I was
next.
doing a demo this morning. Yeah, and I was like, we should just be doing this in Passage, like because this would be like the perfect crowd for it. And again, we do this for GM Tidings, right? Where people can be in Passage, or we'll just share into the Discord. So next time, next week, or next steering committee meeting, we'll do it in Passage. Be a blasty blast.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
Well, I think a lot of people are actually like traveling right now at Token 2049 and other conferences, so we might have a
Yeah.
smaller day. But
Yeah, absolutely.
we've got some good folks in here who are going to provide updates. So our agenda today is basically to review the status of all the projects that we have ongoing, and then talk about one new priority that we wanted to put out to the committee. So we have updates on the indexer, which if everyone saw, it's live. Finally, this has been like a long time coming
Yee.
running. So that's a huge win for us. I know that there's still some requirements that other projects are going to require. So we may need to update that. And I want to talk about that next. So maybe I'll just kind of invite everyone who's going to share as a speaker right now.
Yeah,
That
totally.
would be helpful. All right, Max, I'm going to invite. If you want to speak, just join. Send a request.
Hey everybody.
Yo.
So that's our next speaker. Let's go on to it. I wanted to talk about the marketplace UI UX um, progress. We have seen some Figma designs and wireframes. There's a lot
Yes,
happening
yes.
there. I know there's also some things that you'll need from the indexer. So let's talk about all of that. And if you don't mind, I'm just going to share my screen and show the Figma, or unless you'd prefer we wait on that.
No, you can go ahead or I can share my screen as well.
Okay, yeah, go
However you
for it.
want.
Do it.
Okay.
Do it.
That'd be great.
Sharing right now. Let me know when you guys see my screen.
Loading for me. I can see it. I can see it loading. There we go. Loud and clear.
Okay. Yeah, so these past 2 weeks we have been working on low fidelity wireframes for the marketplace. This is some of the views that we have created, um, that we have shared already with the team, now sharing with the community. I've been receiving some feedback from the team as well. So I've been
Yes.
fixing some things. Um, we had
Props to
some
Greg on
feedback.
the feedback.
Yeah, yeah. So I've been working on that. But here is kind of like the wireframes, kind of like the style we're going with. Um, and also I started working on more high, well, the first thing I did, we created some UI components based on the branding. So this is a kind of like what we have right now, and based on the brand, I already started on the kind of like a high fidelity wireframe. It's more like closer to how it's gonna look, right? So yeah, that would be the update.
Love it. Love it. Yeah, and just super exciting to see all these details, taking full advantage of the latest with the indexer. It's feeling good. If you guys have any questions, share. your questions?
We within the proposal as well, we once we make the prototypes based on the high fidelity wireframes, um, we want to share kind of like a tool. So the prototype, there's a tool called Maze, which creates
Hmm.
like a live UX testing, like a user experience testing based on the prototype that we're gonna create. So, it's gonna be really helpful to have the community test, right? Be
Yeah,
user
that's awesome.
testers of the that way we can all share feedback, see what you guys don't understand or what you like, and yeah, and have the best version of the marketplace. That's the idea.
I'm
Yeah, that's
excited to see
awesome.
that tool.
Yeah.
Um,
Oh yeah.
Mhm.
And I know that you shared a document, I think yesterday, about indexer updates. And so since we have Max on from the CloudMost team, I wanted to walk through like what other endpoints or, data points are needed for you guys to implement. And then we can talk about what it'll take to actually make that happen within the existing indexer.
Yeah. So I have Adrian here from my team as well. I don't know if Adrian, if you can hop in the call. Um, so we can go through the document to see if there's any like technical questions you guys have. So what we were basically asking is we're missing from the indexer some like statistics like information based like volume sales, and so that's kind of like what we are needing. I'm going to share the document. Give me 1 second.
Yeah, yeah.
Hey guys, before all, we're going to wait to Max Lab, right? Or we can begin explaining what endpoints we need to.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Okay, cool.
Let me share the document. That way you can have
I've got it.
1 second. Oh, you got it? Okay, perfect. Thank you.
All right. Can everyone see that?
Yep.
It's still loading for me. Um,
Got it.
might be my network, but go ahead. You can go ahead, Adrian.
Cool. Well, we was discussing about the the requirements that is in the proposal, and we just made a comparison between the API that we now have well, the API that we are using now and API reference. We use the Stargaze reference to to compare what data is necessary to develop the UI using the Warframe. And I just put some methods that are available now. Some of those methods are collection, well, get collection by ID, well, by address. Also, I put the uh, tokens method. Here's the get NFT, get NFTs by collection address, and also dashboard analytics. Um, I put some example that there using the I have two example using the passage API indexer and having the example using the Stargaze API reference. And as you can see, we have like general information. We have like the address in the passage. We have the address, created hey, name, symbol, main contact, magic contact, you know, those properties. But we need to develop the wireframe. Can you please share the wireframe, please, in Figma? Quick to
One
yeah. Well, no, well, there's an example. Well, there is an image that make a reference into the Figma file top in the top, like
I
after
think there's a
the
screenshot in the
yeah,
document,
yeah, exactly,
right?
yeah. Can you please go to the collection part? In the uses, yeah, over there. As you can see, there are some values that is not provided by the API. For example, volume. This data is not in the response from the API. And also in the next image, that is the list of collection. I think is the page. Let's see. Um, Before the first image. Sorry, after the first image. Yeah, over there. You can see like the sales, the supplies and owners that have that that collection. For collection, you have sales, supply, and owners, and the response of the indexer doesn't have that. Um, Also, let's see, in the next image that have like the that container that have the description, you can see the same data that we don't have in the indexer API, and we can pass with the next endpoints tokens. We have that also. We have the uses that have the images for make the comparison between the indexer and the Stargaze API or API reference. We in the passage API we have in their object we have token ID, we have owner, we have metadata, we have traits or attributes, right? But we need to, for example, we need to have sorting criteria to do some filters when we want to get those tokens. For example, in Stargaze API, we have a criteria that you can filter by a live auction, buying out of fixed price, and 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 the API of Passage doesn't have that. We can. I just made some recommendation for to not to construct or for not to build the sorry the passage API from using RESTful. I just made a recommendation use GraphQL service that this library or this framework can provide greater flexibility in data manipulation, and you don't have to construct for I mean you don't have to construct an endpoint to retrieve some data. For example, if I want to get collection, can you please go to the recommendation part, the final topic? Sorry, this one. Yeah, I just make like a quick recommendation to how is the great way to construct the new API or to construct the data that is missing now is use GraphQL. Nowadays, base all well like 90% of NFT marketplace or um, Web3 application use this technology and provide us a way to query more efficient the data that we need. That is a great thing for you because you don't have to construct for each method. You don't have to construct a type or it's.
Yep.
I mean, it's more flexible,
Yeah. No, this is
and
perfect because I know the indexer has all of this data, right?
yeah, yeah,
Adding the GraphQL interface allows us to not have to create an endpoint for every single variable.
yeah, exactly. That is that is the
Right.
problem, huh? Then
Perfect.
it will be better use that because you are not using you are not creating something. You are just creating information. I don't know how they in this case Stargaze use. I don't know if they have a listener with the smart contract and they are like fetching those data and saving in a database. I don't know, but I think this is the best way to do that. Because we don't have to
Perfect.
create we don't have to create for each method one. Oh, sorry, for each data one method. But yeah, this is
Yeah.
like a quick brief.
That's perfect. That's perfect. And again, we have the document to reference. Thanks so much for putting that together. That's super, super helpful. Max, do you have any questions on that? Otherwise, we can just offline too about specific next steps. I mean, again, we've got this document here. You can help us put together next steps on the indexer side of things. But any questions, thoughts?
Yeah, we're gonna reference that document, so thanks for putting that up. And our next step will be to open source the indexer/API code. So if someone else from the community wants to implement like the GraphQL client themselves, they will be able to do it. And yeah, we're gonna have to make an analysis on just all the requirements that you guys put up in that document before we make a proposal to implement them, or if yeah, someone else wants
Perfect.
to do it,
Yeah, Max,
it'll
I
be
realize
all
that
open source.
this is kind of beyond the scope of the initial project. So once you guys have a look at, what it's going to take, let's talk about what we might add on to this as like an ongoing service agreement, just to keep improving the indexer. So we
Yep.
can have kind of a separate project and bounty for that.
Yeah, and that was absolutely the expectation setting up the indexer, is that we were trying to get it up as quickly as possible and that we'd expand on the functionality over time. So this definitely lines up with expectations.
Cool. Any question? I'm available.
Perfect. Thanks, Adrian. Really appreciate that. And again, everything's looking really good. I'm sure we'll have questions, but excited to get through to the to being able to do some of the user testing. Yeah, it'd be a lot of fun. So
Yeah, if anybody from the community wants to be a user tester, so you can contact the team.
oh yeah,
And
we'll
like once it's
well
done.
when you're ready, we'll ping the alpha testers, and
Okay,
they'll eat
perfect.
it up. It'll be good.
Cool. Thank you.
Okay, Beans. BK, what's next? Want to
Sorry,
talk through smart
I
contracts?
just got rugged. Yeah. So yeah, I think obviously marketplace sales data is also being worked on by the Node Fleet team. So that's going to come after all of this. I think we haven't really made too much progress on that front. But yeah, let's.
Sorry, I forgot about that. We already have the wireframes also on the document. You can see it like
Okay,
really below everything I've done from the marketplace. There's like analytics part, which is the sales data.
that's
Um,
perfect.
we have the wireframes. If you have any feedback, Greg or anybody, just comment on the Figma. Mhm.
Perfect.
We can share a link to the Figma in chat if that's okay with your team, and then we'll put it in the meeting notes as well.
Yeah, no problem.
Awesome. Okay. So next we have Tasio here to talk about his progress on the NFT staking contracts. I know that's well underway, and I know that James's team just created a repo for the front end on our GitHub. So wanted to get some updates there. So Tasio, I'll turn it over to you.
Yeah, for sure. I can talk about it a little bit. So the contracts are done. I need to transfer the repo for the contracts over to that passage chain org.
Hmm.
So I'm going to make a request to basically transfer ownership of that repo over to you guys.
Sick.
And it's done at a high level. This is how it works. There's a vault factory that you can use to create vaults. So you specify the unstaking duration and the specific collections that are going to be locked in the vault, and then you can create a vault. Once you have a vault created, anyone can go and stake their NFTs in that vault from the specified collections. If they want to unstake, they have to kind of wait the unstaking duration. And then the admin can also attach rewards to the vault. So, they can incentivize users to stake their NFTs in the vault. And kind of every block, the users will be able to claim more and more rewards from the vault, depending on how many NFTs they have staked.
Yes. Yes. And for that, what is the limitation there in terms of like tokens? Would these have to be IBC tokens on the passage chain, or what are our options there?
Yeah, they would have to be kind of those native tokens, depending on the chain. You know, this is deployed on it.
Mhm.
Presumably, it's the passage chain. So yeah, it's
Right.
going to have to be tokens that are on the passage chain.
Okay,
Uh,
cool. But that would include native assets like passage or IBC tokens.
yeah, you could incentivize it with Bitcoin. I mean, that would be pretty awesome.
That'd be
So, so
Heck yeah.
if you could get like some, you know, wrapped Bitcoin or something from Osmosis transferred over to Passage,
Yeah. Yeah.
you could use that too.
Sick. And that's the thing I'm thinking about is like just what kind of options are we giving creators? Because with this, they don't have to have a treasury of a bunch of assets with, market value. As long as they can create their own token, get it on the passage chain somehow, right? And we don't have to figure that whole process out right now, from a front end perspective. But and then if they are able to, this is something we got to think about as we connect some of the pieces here, require that specific token for X other feature, right? Giving them kind of an easy way to turn staking into access to whatever, as long as they're requiring the token that they made on Token Factory or whatever. If they can make it on Osmosis and transfer it or whatnot. But yeah, just thinking of like how could people get creative with this as we open up, front end pieces for them to interact more easily with this type of thing. That's kind of where my head's going. So that's good to know.
Yeah, for sure, and that should be doable. Um, so yeah, so I had to transfer that contracts repo over, and then there's also like a little front end dashboard that can be used to kind of create vaults and that the admin can use.
Nice.
So that's still in development, should be done the next couple of days, and then that's a separate repo that I have to transfer over as well.
Yeah. And Greg, to your question, basically my thought with how we apply this for eggs is that we set up a specific token of some kind. You can call it YOP or whatever. And the idea would be that people would get those tokens for staking their egg and their character, right? Would require them. Oh, and this is a question. Can you? Yeah, right. Can we require people to stake, like a specific, like you have to stake one from this collection and one from this collection?
Yeah, that's basically how it works.
Cool. Cool.
And you can't really modify it without modifying the contracts, but the way
Right.
it works is, you know, when you create the vault, you specify some number of collection addresses. So like let's say it's a passage NFT and an egg NFT.
Yeah. Yep.
So a user has to stake one from each collection in order to get basically one unit of stake that can collect.
Cool. Gotcha. Is there a way to specify, this isn't necessary for this application, but to specify like more than just like one from each collection? Is there a way to specify how many are required from each collection?
Yes. I mean, not in the current implementation, but that is something we can look at. I kind
Okay,
of want to
so
get this initial version over so that you guys can
yeah, totally.
digest it and then really, you know, we can kind of come up with some final changes that we might need and then kind of put those in and iterate from there.
Yeah, totally. That's perfect. Yes, because I can see an instance where it's like, I mean, not for our application. For our application, it's 1-to-1, right? It's one of each to get one share of stake, right? But I can see applications where somebody's like, well, you need 3 of these and 1 of these, whatever. Yeah. But Greg, to finish answering your question, the idea that I had for how this applies, we want it to be broadly applicable for people to use this in a modular way, right? Which is why I like the generic token issuance, which allows a lot of flexibility for like, okay, well then what do they do with that token? Yada yada. And for us, I was thinking for the eggs, we can have it issue a unique token that's only available through the egg staking. that they then use to redeem NFTs that where they're working towards hatching the egg. Basically, they have to get a certain number of these NFTs or get different ones to combine them, make the egg, whatever, like that type of thing. So that again, we have a generic mechanism that can work for a lot of projects, but also makes sense for how we want to do egg staking in terms of incentivizing people to hold the eggs to get the best chance at a rare.
Okay, so I just want to ask on the mechanics of that. The
Mhm.
original idea, as you are aware, was to stake an egg with a character, and the length of the
Yep.
time of staking increased the rarity. So in the new mechanism, having gain coins, those coins would just go into like a pool that you have, right? They wouldn't be
Yeah.
tied to the NFTs that you have staked. And the reason that I ask is that
Mhm.
this could transform into not necessarily pay to win, but like whoever spends the most money to get the best stuff, because
Yep.
people would be able to buy those tokens to get the more rare
Yep.
stuff, or people who own more NFTs would be able to go a shorter amount of time to get a larger pooled amount to get a rare NFT.
Yeah.
And
Exactly.
if that's acceptable, that's fine. I just want to point out that that's a difference in changing the mechanism. As before, everybody was limited to like your NFT will have to be tied up, and that determines your rarity, and there's nothing you can do about it. Whereas this, which could be positive for the project, if people get more NFTs, then they will
Right.
get income faster and therefore get rares faster.
Yeah. Yeah. And I'm no matter how we do it, if the assets are decentralized, I mean, there's probably ways to prevent this, but like you could have people who are people who have. I mean, it could happen on the back end, right? It happens either early or on the back end, right? Because on the back end, um, okay, let's say somebody gets a rare because they were in first and they only had one NFT, right? So, but they have this rare now, and suddenly people are willing to pay egregious amounts of passage for it. They can sell it then, right? And so ultimately, it's still up to the users to decide, if somebody wants to sell their tokens or wait for the rare, right? Because um, each each person who has an NFT, a Strange Planet NFT, an Egg NFT, it's up to them to decide what happens, right? Because there's no pay to win if nobody's willing to sell those tokens, right? But if people are willing to sell those tokens, the question is, do we let them, right? And I say, I'm cool with that, because it does give people who weren't involved an opportunity to get in the middle, right? Um, before, um, the difficulty with it before was, I guess there wasn't a great structure for what happens to somebody who wants to start staking. Is there a difference between people who never staked the NFT, right, or who somebody who was staking from the beginning and waits all the way through. Whatever. There's a couple different. It's just frankly, I think a trade off in where you have the pay to win problem, and pay to win is always going to be some level of difficulty in an open economy, right? An open decentralized economy. It's just where does it happen? Does it happen as soon as people start staking because they're selling their tokens, or does it happen? And again, they're speculating too that like maybe those tokens actually become more valuable later on than right away, whatever. So it just makes the game different. I don't think it's better or worse necessarily, but we can talk through how we structure that as well. Good question, so I like that. James, any other questions on the staking contracts?
Yeah, good day, everyone. Jim. So
Hey,
that's you. Please, I will have to. Good day. Hello, can you hear me? So that's you. Please, I would like to. We would like to see the contract, so we could know what functions we could integrate on the front end, as well integrating it on the dashboard.
Yeah, for sure. They'll be available as soon as I can get them transferred over. So probably today.
So please, I'll ping you privately, so I and my team, we could have a meeting with you to go over it and know what functions are required on the front end and how we can interact with it and get it done.
Yeah, for sure. We can kind of do that offline.
Awesome.
And then I think once we've had a chance to review and determine whatever modifications or changes we need to make, after that, we can do the peer review. James and team can do that. I think it doesn't really make sense to do it now if we are potentially going to make changes before it's considered final.
Yeah, that sounds good.
Beans.
All right. Then I think the last thing on our list is something that was raised by Greg as a potential project to put out to the group. I want to invite Anil from FitWit to the stage. So essentially, we're looking to have an airdrop checker site built for the Passage airdrop. Right now, it's specifically applicable to the Strange Clan community. They had an initial claiming period, which started last about a year ago, just under a year ago. And if you staked all of your airdrop by a certain deadline, which was December 29th, and stake it for 14 months consecutively, you'll be eligible for a second airdrop. So that's ongoing. I think that will end in like March or April. And we don't have currently an airdrop checker site to have people go to confirm their eligibility, to confirm that they will receive the second airdrop based on their staking. So we had a document that was put together. Thank you, Greg. I'll share it. But I think, Anil, your team worked on the initial airdrop, like helping us put that together, put together the mechanics, and had a checker site up for the original claim. And so I think it would really make sense to have your team get involved on that, and wanted to just talk about that with you.
Yep. Thank you, Brianna. So I think we can help with developing a new airdrop checker site for this staking thing. Since the indexer is ready and full node is archive node is also available, this should be fairly straightforward. We'll come up with estimations on timelines and costs by next week, and then maybe we can take it forward from there.
Greg, is there anything specific that you wanted to highlight from this, or Lex? I think Anil's team is already very aware of the requirements and everything, so it should be straightforward.
Yeah,
Okay.
I agree.
Yeah. Just the mechanics that we have to make sure we get down, and I put those in comments in moderator chat. I did the things that I had commented on that I didn't include in the RFP that were unknown to me, because this was just a draft. So I don't know if you've taken a look at that and modified it, but there were some things like the mechanics of they have to stake for 14 months, and we had talked about if they didn't stake the full amount of the original airdrop, that their airdrop would just be reduced, not just wiped out, but that it would be reduced per NFT, and that I believe Town 1 NFT amounts were going to be knocked off first and then Town 2. So like there was a mechanism for, you'd have to be like determine how much did you stake and remain staked, and then which NFTs did you own to get that, and do that calculation. And I didn't know if that was still the plan, and I didn't know how to put those mechanics into the document.
Yeah, I think
Yeah,
I
sure, Greg. So we'll check out all those mechanics and come up with a plan.
Awesome.
Lex, from the beginning, we basically been saying it has to be the entire airdrop, but I know there were certain exceptions or, scenarios where somebody had to use a couple passage for gas to actually claim and stake their airdrop. So then they're missing 2 passage or something from the entire
yeah.
stake.
Let's offline about it. I mean, we can figure out like what's a reasonable margin. I mean, also, for instance, if somebody received, like I think Greg mentioned this as well, like if somebody received or had 5 characters, but didn't stake in all of the airdrop, they could still get the remainder on like the four of those NFTs, right? Like if that's what makes up the difference, whatever, things like that. We could talk about that. I think it's going to be a little bit complicated, but we can simplify it as much as possible and just set some standards that are reasonable, right? I don't want anyone to miss out because of two passage for gas, but also like, yeah, we don't want we want to make it to meet expectations, right? And so there was a standard you had to stake everything, but that doesn't mean you had to stake every passage from every NFT necessarily, right? But for any given NFT, you have to staked the appropriate amount to receive the remainder of that airdrop. So
I think, and it'll give us a bit of time just to get this proposal for the bounty up, and we'll post it on GitHub, and then you guys can come up with, you know, your budget and timeline and what you think it's going to take. I think you probably have an idea already, but we'll want to make sure that we have everything lined out for you when it comes to these mechanics and specification.
Yep, sure.
Looking at this question, that's an interesting approach. So if you staked for the entire 14 months, you would get 100%. If you staked for a shorter amount, you would get 50%. In my opinion, that's not a concession that we're wanting to make because it's always been since the white paper, 14 months. So I think it's more about how much you staked from each character versus the amount of time, because that 14 months
Yeah.
really hasn't changed since the earliest time we've talked about the airdrop.
Right.
Yeah.
The
Plus, it
original
makes things
discussion
super
was that,
complicated.
yeah, that you had to have the amount staked by December 29th of 2023, and that amount had to remain staked for the full 14 months. And you'll see in previous discussions in the Discord, there had been like, well, what if you didn't stake the full 100% of it? That was a different story, but it still had to remain staked for the full 14 months.
Well, we'll offline about that, I think, within the team, so we can make some recommendations, and just based on whatever community conversations have already happened, I think we want to go with probably the broader community sentiment, as it relates to this, and something that's fair and just makes sense. So we'll talk about this with the team, and then we'll get that bounty up like within the next week, so we can get that moving. We do have a few months, but it would be good for people to start checking now. And then if there is any troubleshooting needed, you know, we'll have some time to just review with folks. At this point, I think that's all I had on my agenda. There's a lot of moving parts, a lot going on, but I think we've
Oh, yeah.
gotten the right people connected. We have James and Tassio connected. We've gotten Max and the Node Fleet team connected. So there's a lot of good conversations happening in collaboration. I'm super
Absolutely.
excited.
Well, and there's only going to be more opportunities, especially as we get further into Cosmos Community Hub. There'll be a lot of cool opportunities there. Just had a conversation with another team that wants to be involved in the Community Hub, which is really, really cool. And then also, yeah, just as we get further into the alpha, we have a really, really cool lineup of teams that are coming into the closed alpha. And I mean, people with very diverse use cases, but we are starting to see some patterns in terms of interactive agencies working with large Fortune 500 companies to do virtual events and things like that. In addition to like game studios, building games and wanting to use Passage to host their games for demos, for stakeholder meetings, you know, to give art feedback, things like that, making their game experience super accessible to non-technical users without having to work through like you know, a version control software of some kind to make sure they have the right repo and that they've got the right hardware and all this nonsense. So it's really, really cool seeing the community grow of, and again, most of these people, we had a few people, that actually surprising, coming from the Web 2 space who were using a different virtual platform and actually were excited about Passage because of the blockchain features. So that's really exciting to see that people really are growing in their appreciation and education around blockchain. But most of these people have no idea about the chain, and they don't need to know anything about the chain. That's the beauty of what we're building here, is that it's all going to happen behind the scenes. As we have more and more blockchain integrations, there will always be a user-friendly way for Web 2 people to get involved without having to worry about that stuff, but still bringing value to the usage of the chain on the platform. So really exciting, because again, like, we're bringing people in from the outside. We're not limiting ourselves to Web3 users, right? We have access to a huge market of people who want more human interactions in virtual environments, whether that's people doing remote work, virtual agencies, game agencies, things like that. So it's pretty cool. Just an encouragement that not only are we kind of building new things in the open source community, but there's going to be a really rich variety of use cases on the platform side, and just more and more opportunities to create value in the ecosystem. So thoughts, hopes, dreams. You guys are awesome. Thanks for hanging out. We've got an incredible crew building here in the open source community on Passage, and I only see this growing. I mean, this is like the nadir of the market. We're at the low point where there's frankly not a lot of people hanging out. I see people whose accounts are 10 times, 100 times the size of ours, who get the same engagement or less, right? As Passage. On my personal account, we have a thriving community, and it's only going to do multiples in terms of people interacting and excited about space as we get more, cyclical hype, right? But that's not what we're about. The goal here is always constantly building and creating stuff that's always valuable, no matter what's going on in the market. And the cycles are just a fun bonus. So strap up, guys. We're making waves. Go team, go.
Awesome. Thank you so much, everybody. We'll catch you next time
Peace.
on Passage.